Is getting a job really a thing for losers? Today we're gonna break down the advice given by Robert Kiyosaki in Millennial Money: getting a job is for losers. I have a job and therefore I must be one of the losers, at least according to the title. I will link his video in the description down below, if you want to go and watch the full video. But for now, here are my takeaways from his video. Here's how this video is going to be structured. First, we're going to talk about why the rich don't work for money. Second, we're going to talk about what the rich are working for. Third, we're going to talk about the path to no paycheck. And finally, we're going to have a brief conclusion. Let's start with part one: why the rich don't work for money. The most common advice that young people receive nowadays, and that they receive for decades, was to go to school, get good grades, get a job, work for 40 years, and then retire and live your life happily ever after, if there is anything left to live afterwards. We all know this system is broken. It was created in the Industrial Revolution and it was meant to produce factory workers. And if you do not believe me, you can go down the research rabbit hole and find out for yourself. The script that was given to us was basically to trade our time for money, to trade our time for a paycheck, and in most cases, a laughable raise at the end of the year. But as Robert Kiyosaki puts it, financial education is not about working for money. It's not about working for a paycheck. And the rich don't work for a paycheck. They work for something else that produces income, that detaches their time from that source of income. His goal, like mine, was to never ever need another paycheck, pension, social security, or anything of the sort, and to basically be financially free. Let's move on to part two: what the rich are working for. And I'm gonna tell you straight right now, the rich are working for assets. And the rich also smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. And you'll better understand why the rich are working for assets when we are going to look at the financial statement that's going to be drawn based on the model given to us by Robert Kiyosaki, which is a very simple balance sheet. Now, on this financial statement, we have income, expenses, assets, and liabilities. And when Robert Kiyosaki says that the rich don't work for money, he means that the rich don't focus on having a paycheck as their primary source of income in the income column of the financial statement. Because the rich, for some of the time, might work for a paycheck, but that capital that they receive from the paycheck is going to be used to either create assets or to buy assets that are going to create income, that are going to provide some form of cash flow that's going to go into the income column, which is going to buy more assets, which is going to increase the cash flow and the income, and the circle is going to repeat as many times as needed in order to create as much wealth as they want. Now, I hope you can see the difference why they don't work for a paycheck and they don't focus on having the paycheck as their primary source of income, because with the assets that they create and the assets that the rich people buy, they are going to generate cash flow that's going to generate income for them, and it's not going to be only one source of income, it's going to be multiple sources of income or multiple sources of cash flow that are going to put income into their pocket or into their income column of the financial statement. The assets could be businesses that you buy, businesses that you create, real estate that's going to produce cash flow or that you can force appreciate and generate wealth for yourself to increase your net worth through forced appreciation, through leveraging money at a low interest rate like you can do nowadays to buy below market value real estate. It can be stocks, which is basically part ownership of a business. He also adds in the asset column commodities like gold and silver, even though gold and silver don't really produce any sort of cash flow or income. They generally appreciate in value over time and are a hedge against inflation and a store of wealth. So they are basically an asset. Also, when you work for a paycheck, the biggest expense is not the housing, it's not the car payment, and it's not, in most of the cases, the food payment or eating out. It's taxes. Uncle Sam takes about 50% of your income before you even see a dime of your income. So whenever you are earning money from a paycheck, you are in a 50-50 partnership with the government because you trade your time for money and the government takes half of it before you receive your payment. Paycheck income is one of the most taxed forms of income out there. As opposed to this, asset income like businesses, real estate, dividends, capital gains, and so on are much less taxed by the government. So you see why the rich focus on gathering as many cash flow producing assets as possible to replace any form of paycheck income, and why they are not interested at all in having paycheck income, and they would rather have any other sort of income that's going to be produced by some sort of asset because it's going to be taxed way less and therefore the expenses are going to be much less. On top of it, they can use leverage to buy some of those assets. They can use leverage to pull money tax-free from some of those assets and so forth. So the benefits that you get and that the rich get from buying and creating as many assets as possible is exponential. On top of this, you also detach your time from the formula. Basically, you are not trading your time for money anymore. The money that you invested or the time that you put in order to create the asset is going to continue to produce income for you and is also going to appreciate in value over time, and you get multiple benefits by making an upfront investment. Now let me give you a concrete example. I am taxed on my primary income, the paycheck income that I have, about 35%. But on my rental income, I am taxed 6%. And I am paying property taxes of about $20 per year. And now on top of this, while I'm making this video, I'm basically generating income from that asset. So my time is completely detached from that asset and that asset continues to produce income. Now, if you have 10 investments like this, your time is completely detached from any source of income. And on top of this, you also get the benefits of appreciation, of leverage, and you have multiple sources of income. So if one property stops producing income, you still have 9 left. But if the paycheck is the primary source of income, if that flow stops, everything stops. Now, if you have a mortgage, if you have a car payment, if you have student loans, and whatever else on top of this, if the primary source of paycheck income stops, you're in big trouble. In the pursuit of not needing another paycheck for your entire life, you will earn a paycheck for at least some of the time. And I know there are exceptions to this rule. In many cases, you will have some form of paycheck income until you have enough assets that are going to cover your basic expenses like food, shelter, taxes, medical insurance, and whatever else. The temporary paycheck income will fuel your adventure to no paycheck income. It's going to provide food, it's going to provide shelter, it's going to provide resources to invest, it's going to provide resources to upgrade your knowledge until you create or buy sufficient assets to become basically financially independent. In any case, what's left after you cover the basic needs from the paycheck income, the rest should be invested in order to gather as many assets as possible and to gather them as fast as possible because we want to retire when we still have some life left in us. Now let's move on to the final part, and here are my closing remarks. Yes, the rich don't work for money. They work for assets that are going to produce money. Getting a job is not for losers. You can leverage your way to get a job, to learn from someone that you want to become like. You can learn from a person that's already in the position that you want to be in, and even if you work for them for free, you'll gain experience and knowledge, and you will basically speed up your way to the path or to the place you want to be. You'll learn how to become who you want to become, and you'll have connections in order to support you along the way, which you can monetize forever. Please keep this in mind. Money can be spent once. skills and connections can be monetized forever. And lastly, getting a job temporarily to support yourself until you accumulate sufficient assets to cover your expenses is a way to support yourself. The goal is to not be stuck and be running for a paycheck forever, but to use it as a way to get to financial independence. And also the goal should be to shorten your time in that position as much as possible. Alright everyone, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and you found it useful. If you did so, all I ask you is to please consider giving it a like because it tremendously helps with the YouTube algorithm. Feel free to subscribe if you want to learn more about personal finance and investing. And until next time, take care, have a wonderful day, and don't forget that you are amazing.